Hi, my name is Dr. Chatter. Someone asked me my opinions on racism the other day. They obviously did not know me very well. First and foremost, I consider myself a human, and everyone on the planet shares DNA with Africans. White people also have African DNA mixed with Neanderthal DNA. And Asians share African and Denisovian DNA. This of course leads to many jokes about racism which might be better explained in another video. So, I consider every human to be part of the same family, which is by and large considered to be black. That is, if we use this and other skin color-based slang words to divide our species into generalized breeds like dogs. We are all black, even if we aren't. Human skin color is a 0.01% difference, while bonobo chimpanzees are 0.001% different to humans, and they are our closest relatives genetically, other than each other. But they are still a different species, which explains why they have no legal status in our modern society. This point leads me to my next point. I am not racist because the term typically applies to hating another skin color or ethnicity of the human species. But, as some of you may know, I am a speciesist. This means that I irrationally hate only other species. Homo sapiens are all the same species due to their genetics being so similar. But anything I cannot successfully breed with to create offspring is obviously inferior. And animals are really only good for food or slave labor. Of course, most civilized people just call it agriculture. True, the creature can be remarkably intelligent like a cat that eats with a fork. But they are not fit to breed with and often best left in their boxes. And even though I tend to look down upon all other creatures in the universe and elsewhere in the multiverse, I only actively harm other intelligent species. Extraterrestrials are number one on intelligent species that I despise. This is because they think they are better than us. And also because they won't share their UFO technology with me. Clones are number 2 on the list. Well, at least my clones anyway. You see, I add and subtract so many genetic markers in my clones to claim patent, copyright, and trademark over them that they are hardly genetically similar enough to us to even be called human at all. Plus, I have stopped educating them so they have no idea what their rights really are. This strategy is especially helpful since I don't want a union forming in my lab. Not that I wouldn't like a mafia-controlled speakeasy here. I just prefer laser guns to Tommy guns. But back to the subject of racism. I find it deplorable to express views that look down on other cultures of my species. Unless it is done in a comedic setting because it is not really intended as an insult. If you hide behind a law such as freedom of speech, then I feel you are just an uneducated coward who doesn't practice what they preach. If I were to educate you, then you would change your opinion. So, of course, I will try. I love a challenge. For instance, you could say, I think we should kill a person. Now, while that is an opinion, those kind of opinions could lead to action. The actions undertaken could be a crime, especially if the victim is a random person or if someone else acts upon those words. If what you said was a catalyst for the crime, then you are to blame, just like Hitler. Also, opinions can be based on rumor and actually be mistaken for slander or libel. People have a duty to each other to research what they are talking about while also being straightforward in the way they meant it so the actual intent is understood. This would make it far less insulting, especially if you are pretending for comedic reasons. And it would make it easier to prosecute the real intolerant people for their non-comedic shenanigans. Often I find people just saying things to get a reaction from others. Seriously, could they be any more codependent? Why do they feel the need to be the center of attention for horribly incorrect actions of thought and speech? If you lead an inauthentic life, then you are no better than the villains you perceive others to be. By inauthentic I mean a person that doesn't mean what they say. Or in other words, people that aren't honest with what they say. This is why I sometimes find slightly racist humor to be funny. Especially jokes about white people being Neanderthals. Because those jokes are meant and intended to be comedy, which is understood to be just for playful fun. Not to hurt or defame. Although I do admit some of the jokes I like can go too far. That's when I turn back to the sex jokes. And if those don't work, then I'll just go and hurt myself. That always tends to get a chuckle or two. Ironically, slapstick always gets more laughs when I have lasers pointed at the audience. That's just a tip for you, Leno. Now, if you don't mean what you say and are only acting out a character, then you need to make sure your audience knows that it is a fictional monologue. Otherwise you look dumb and you will find that more people hate it. By way of reason. If they hate your acting, then eventually they will grow to hate you as well. And if you are constantly telling lies, then people will eventually stop listening. But if they know you aren't being truthful, then they can sit back and laugh at your insane character, rather than grabbing their pitchforks before trying to harm you, or others. America was founded on the idea of a right to freedom of speech. But people have been using that as an excuse to mudsling the people they don't like. Often the biggest people that mudsling tend to actually have the most mud and dirt on them. My opinion is that all the true racists and inauthentic people should go jump in a lake. Or more preferably, the ocean. Not because it will wash off all the mud and dirt, because it never will. But rather they should jump into the ocean because then they are feeding the sharks. And that is a very environmentally and socially conscious thing to do. Plus it would mean that good people like me wouldn't have to get our hands dirty. Unless those dang aliens from the giant mud planet near Alpha Centauri return. So always know where your soap is. Those dirty mother-mucking aliens are everywhere. They can attack without warning our intelligence. Because they are made of mud. You can sleep tight, humanity. For Dr. Chatter is here. And if you see a Swedish sheep massager on sale, don't give in to your immoral delusions of equality between the other species and humanity. Stay pure. Stay human. Right, well, good night, and remember to use protection. Because not all of us are as genetically superior as me. Just kidding.